What's going on, everybody? This is Joe Co from Hustletown Gamers, and today we'll be doing a retro review of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game for the NES. This was a favorite of mine growing up, and today we're going to be doing a review on it over gameplay, and we're going to learn some fun facts about it that you may or may not have known. Let's get into it. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, was originally released as an arcade cabinet back in 1989. But got ported to the NES or the Famicom, whichever one you want to call it, in 1990. Notable differences would include the addition of the snow level, which is level 3, and then the extension of the parking garage level. One thing that I always wondered about while playing this game when I was little is why Pizza Hut's name was actually scattered throughout all the levels. Well, it turns out that Pizza actually had paid product placement with this game to promote their restaurant. And what's cool about it is that when you bought the game, on the owner's manual, the very back page, there's a coupon for a free personal pan pizza that you can redeem at the Pizza Hut restaurants. It had an expiration date of 12/31/1991. Alright, that's enough fun facts for right now. Let's get into the actual review process and go over controls and gameplay. Let's do controls first. Now, as you know, or you may not know, the NES only had 2 buttons and a directional pad. So it's pretty simple. You can move up and down, so basically vertical and horizontally in this game. One button will make you jump, the other one will help you attack. Now you can combine the two and jump and drop kick, which is actually your friend in this game, and you'll see why a little bit later. There is one move I couldn't quite figure out, or at least I couldn't figure out the button configuration for it. It's kind of like a power move. You can use it at times where you need it, but however you do lose a little bit of life. But I kind of did it at random sometimes, but I kind of went throughout the game without needing it, so it wasn't really too useful. Let's move on to gameplay. Now, gameplay is actually pretty fun in this game. I think I had more fun playing this now than I did back in the day. Well, I think it's because, one, I'm way better at video games now than I was back then, because as a kid, I was just button mashing until the buttons didn't work anymore. But now I actually kind of used my thousands upon thousand hours of playing video games to use, and kind of used the controls smartly, and actually found some exploits in this game that helped you proceed throughout the whole game. Now, one thing that did bother me about the gameplay, which isn't necessarily a big deal because it's not really the game's fault or the gameplay per se, it's more of like the glitchiness of the NES and how the games are. Sometimes when you get a bunch of characters together, you start to see these glitchy blocks and everything. And to me, sometimes when you get that, some of the hits don't register to the enemies. Now, this could be kind of a little bit of a downer, especially when you're surrounded by enemies that try to gang up on you. Now, don't mistake that for clunky gameplay or even clunky controls, because overall the controls are actually quite responsive, and which is great for a beat 'em up game like this. Now let's talk about enemy placement and level design. First, enemy placement. Now, enemy placement is quite simple when it comes to beat 'em up side scrollers like this, because of course the enemies just come either from the sides of the screen, or sometimes they just drop down like there's an airdrop care package of enemies waiting to be dropped. However, this game does put you through a variety of enemies, mostly Foot Clan members that have been rendered different colors, that have different weapons to their disposal. Some of them have boomerangs, some of them have their fists, and some of them, like these blue guys here, have snowballs. That's right, snowballs. Other enemies include snowmen that turn into little robots, and actual little robots, and of course your boss battles. Now, you remember earlier when I said the drop kick was actually going to be useful? Well, here it is in action. Drop kicking until the boss battle is over. You find exploits like that everywhere in this game. Alright, let's talk about graphics and level design. Now, graphics, for back in the day in 1989, these are actually state of the art, and they still look good to this day. The colors are bright, and you can actually kind of render each enemy differently, and they actually hold up pretty nicely. Now, level design for a side-scroller beat 'em up is actually pretty simple. All you need is a background and a couple of things going on here and there throughout the level. Now, the only thing that wouldn't hold up to today's standards is the placement of enemies throughout those levels. Like, for instance, there's a building on fire, and there's Foot Clan members coming out of the elevator with total disregard that the building is on fucking fire. Oh well, it's just a video game, right? What game actually perfects realism in the right way? Not many. But this level was actually really fun to play, and I actually really like the design of this. You're on kind of like skateboard slash rocket boards, going through a highway, it looks like. But the funniest thing was the cutscene at the end. You go through the level like a badass, destroying Foot Clan members on like a skateboard. You hop into a van, and for some reason the driver decides to go off the rail of the highway. Now let's talk character design. Now I'm sure that most of the characters that are in this game are from the actual animated series. But some, I don't know if they are or not. Like this guy right here, this boss, yeah, he looks cool and all, but he has like one giant nipple on his chest. I don't know how I feel about that. If you're more familiar with the Ninja Turtle series than I am, please let me know down below if this guy actually is part of the series or not, or they just made him directly for this game. Now, last thing I have left to talk about is actual difficulty of the game. Now, the game itself is actually not too difficult. They give you enough continues and enough lives. You just can't be too reckless with them, because at the end, if you are too reckless and you get hit a lot and you lose a lot of energy, of course, you'll run out of continues and run out of lives. Then you have to start it over. And as you know, being on the NES, you don't have the ability to save, which is a bummer, because if you want to beat this game, you're going to have to start all over if you run out of lives. And that's exactly what happened to me during this gameplay. I thought I was on course to beat the game, but I guess I didn't manage my lives and my energy well, or my continues, because I did eventually die in the hands of these robo-scorpions here. So I didn't get to beat the game, unfortunately, but it was a good run. Well, there it is. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game review. Now, back in the day, GamePro actually rated it a 23 out of 25, which is a pretty damn good review. Game Radar even rated it number 25 of the best NES games ever made. Now, Hustletown Reviews, we do 1 through 10, so I'm going to give it a 6.5. Now, the reason being is because as fun as the gameplay is, and how great the graphics is, there's a couple of exploits and a couple of things with the glitches that I don't really necessarily like. But overall, pretty damn good game, and the nostalgic factor is way huge for me. Thank you for checking out this retro review. My name is Joko from Hustletown Gamers. Peace out.